Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
What better place to start your week out than Bull Falls Brewery, right? What better place to start the week out than right here? Oh, it's just so terrific to be here, and I just wanted to share some comments here today, and I want to thank Rebecca and her whole crew for making it up here to Wausau today, which has always been a regular stop for you folks, making it through north central Wisconsin, and we really appreciate it. So we have a number of good candidates that are running for governor, and in fact, almost all of the races that we have for statewide office, we have a really good field of candidates here in 2022, and that includes running for governor, including a few people that have been in the news talking about maybe they are still thinking about running. But when you evaluate the field, and as I evaluate the field, there's one person that stands above everyone else that I believe will be the best governor Wisconsin can elect here in 2022, and that is Rebecca Kleefisch. She's confident, intelligent, she works like no one else. If anybody is following Rebecca Kleefisch on the campaign trail, you know no one will outwork Rebecca Kleefisch, and that will include when she is governor. She will work tirelessly for the people of the state of Wisconsin. And when you look at what's happening, so I spent a lot of time out in Washington, D.C. Just came back Thursday night after a couple weeks stint out there in the swamp.
Yeah.
And
You didn't get stuck.
Yeah, for sure. And what we see is weakness. And that weakness that you see with Joe Biden, we also see with Tony Evers here in Wisconsin. Does anybody see strength there in either of those gentlemen when in trying to do their jobs as chief executives? I certainly don't see it. I mean, when you take things like, we have a border that is absolutely out of control at this point. Title 42 is about to go away, where there will be simply no limits on people being able to come into our country. Joe Biden made that happen, and he did it out of weakness. But you know what? Tony Evers thinks the same way. All you have to do is look back to 2019, when our National Guard was helping out another state to help control the border. What did Tony Evers do? He said, no, we're not going to go help another state down on the southern border. He pulled our National Guard troops back. Joe Biden and Tony Evers think alike. And you look at inflation and energy costs that are skyrocketing here in America, the number one issue for Americans at this point. How did that happen? January 20th of 2021. President Biden said, I'm going to stop the Keystone Pipeline. But he didn't stop with just the Keystone Pipeline. He has shut down drilling on public lands. He has made it clear to the lending authorities at the federal level that fossil fuels are off limits. We do not want you lending to these people. His Federal Energy Regulatory Commission is slow-walking pipeline permits. And what do we get? We get gasoline that's $1.50 higher than it was on January 20th of 2021. I happen to be a propane user, like about 30% of the people here in northern Wisconsin that we use for our fuel. We were paying 80 cents a gallon in August of 2020. We're now paying over $2 a gallon to heat our homes. That's weakness that Joe Biden has brought to us. What does Tony Evers have right now? He has a permit sitting on the desk of the Department of Natural Resources, which he has authority over, to reroute a major pipeline in northern Wisconsin in the 7th Congressional District. That pipeline permit is gathering dust at the Department of Natural Resources. Tony Evers could do something about this if he chose to. And by the way, I was in Superior, what was that, about a month and a half ago, after the State of the Union speech that President Biden gave. The next day, he went to Superior to sell his infrastructure bill. He did not talk at all about a refinery that's up in Superior, Wisconsin, the only refinery we have in the state of Wisconsin. President Biden didn't talk about that at all, about rebuilding this our refinery and how important it is for Wisconsin. And he was there talking about we need to rebuild our infrastructure in the country, right? One of the major products that comes out of that refinery when it gets rebuilt is asphalt. What can be more important for building roads than asphalt? Joe Biden didn't say anything about it, and do you ever hear Tony Evers talk about it? This refinery is important to the people of the state of Wisconsin, up in Superior, Wisconsin. Jobs, huge investment, and the asphalt and the products like propane that come out of it. You never hear them talk about it. And then, of course, you have crime. We have, unfortunately, a party that can be described no other way than weak on crime. Some of them encouraged rioting back in 2020. Joe Biden, while he gives it lip service that he supports the police, you ask law enforcement, do they trust Democrats at this point on crime? They don't. And who could have been weaker than Tony Evers on crime? Let's go back to 2020. The riots are burning down Minneapolis. Protests are going on in Madison and Milwaukee. How much of a stretch would it be for a chief executive to say, you know, we may have a problem here real soon? We did. State Street burned down. A state senator got beaten to a pulp in one of those riots. Where was Tony Evers? He was in the governor's mansion in Maple Bluff, and he did not lift a finger to stop those riots. But ladies and gentlemen, it gets worse. A month and a half, no, 2.5 months later, end of August, Kenosha burns. And why did Kenosha burn? Because the Attorney General of the state of Wisconsin and the governor of the state of Wisconsin, Tony Evers, did nothing about it. In fact, you could make the case they did worse than nothing. They poured fuel on the fire by saying the cops were the bad guys. Go back and look at that person's rap sheet, and you tell me that the cop was the bad guy. The cop that was going there to help a woman whose kids were under the threat of kidnapping. And the cops are the bad guys in Tony Evers' world? That's why we need a new governor.
Yes.
So if I can take just a couple more minutes.
Please. I'm enjoying this.
Rebecca Kleefisch and I were both elected in 2010. You know, let's go back down the history trail. What did our country look like in 2010? Jim Doyle was finishing up his second term as governor. We had a $3 billion deficit, unconscionable for the state of Wisconsin, where people like you folks out there, you balance your checkbook every month. We had unemployment at that point was nearly 10%. We came in with new majorities in the legislature, a new governor, a new lieutenant governor, and we said, we've got to make changes if we're going to make Wisconsin the great state that it is and can be, a state that had been diminished. And we made those tough decisions, and many of you remember those tough decisions that we made. They were not easy. And many people disagreed with us, but they can't disagree at this point. Those changes that were implemented over 8 years put Wisconsin in so much better shape that we're reaping the rewards yet today. Wouldn't you like to have a governor that brings back those good days that Wisconsin can have, that's going to make Wisconsin the best state possible? So, folks, I am so excited to be here in Wausau today to say that As one gentleman likes to say, who held very high office, Rebecca Kleefisch has my full and total endorsement. With that, the next governor of the state of Wisconsin, Rebecca Kleefisch.